In December of 2023, Colin McEwen of the New Fly Fisher invited me to shoot a show with him centered around steelhead on the Lake Erie tributaries. Our host and guide there, Kirk Bidekoffer, owns several cottages in the area, including this one in Conneaut, Ohio, where we stayed. Everything about the accommodations was first class, and upon arrival, we quickly made ourselves at home, including my son Drew, who Colin had graciously invited to join us. Some of us really made ourselves right at home. In terms of the fishing, everything came together. We had decent weather, good water conditions, and relatively light crowds. Plus, the steelhead were staged up and ready to eat. Captain Kurt was able to get Drew into his very first steelhead, which, as many of you know, is a pretty big deal. Kurt's daughter Morgan, who's also a guide, put me on my largest fish of the trip, a beautiful-looking buck in pristine condition. For a newly minted guide, Morgan's knowledge of the area and skills are nothing shy of extraordinary. Although we were able to catch fish on egg patterns and nymphs, one of the most productive flies was one invented by Captain Kurt called Kurt's Creek Minnow, and it produced for us both dead drifted below an indicator and swung. Here's a little bit more about the fly and how to tie it. Here we go. It starts off, and it's a size, we've been using a size 8 streamer hook, little, I guess there's 3X long, and we're using a 5/32 of an inch bead. It's not a tungsten bead, it's a brass bead, so not a whole ton of weight to it. I'm just gonna get it firmly secured in the jaws of my tying vise. Thread I'm using, it's called Fluoro Brite. It's from Semperfli, really bright orange thread and super, super strong. This stuff is like rope. It is not a thin thread, but there's no reason to use thin thread on this. So I'm just gonna get it started on the hook shank. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna take care of the underside of the fly first, and the easiest way to do that is just to take your hook and rotate it like that, like so, in your tying vise. No big deal. And first material to get tied in is just a little bit of flesh. Just don't want to overdo it with this stuff. We're not trying to attract fish from a mile away or anything. There's no reason to go heavy with this. So something about like that. You want this to extend, I don't know, a full hook shank back from the hook bend. Gonna snip it off there, give my bobbin a nice little counterclockwise spin, which is going to help that tying thread to jump kind of rearward, catch the material, and then bind it down really well. These flies take a beating on the bottom, and so kind of important to get really tight wraps on there, make sure everything's locked down. Next material to get tied in is a little white marabou, and this is a super simple fly. And you want to be sparse with this stuff. You don't want a whole big ton of it on there. Gonna go like that, about the same length. Not super critical. Full hook and length, something like that. Just gonna get that bound down really well. Sweep it back and trim the excess off nice and close. Not really worried about building up thread wraps or anything else. Not critical on this one. Then I just flip the fly back and we'll finish the back of the fly. So many of these bait fish species here on the Erie tribs, well, just about anywhere for that matter, are darker on the back, lighter on the bottom. So we've been fishing this with a dark brown back, white bottom, as well as an olive. Both look and work really well here. Just gonna match those tips up with the tips of the white ones. Get it anchored. Trim the excess off. Keep on taking wraps. I'm just kind of cleaning the area up, and at the same time building up a nice little kind of hot spot thread collar behind that bead there. And we looking on the other side, good. Got just a little bit of flash peeking through. Just to finish. Little back to front whip finish. Seat that knot really, really well. Gonna put a little pressure on my tying thread. Cut that off. Super important here though is head cement. This is Sally Hansen hard as nails, and really saturate those thread wraps. If anything's gonna come apart bouncing along the bottom, it's gonna, even with a really good whip finish, it's gonna be those thread wraps. So you want to seal them up real well. And that's it. That's Kurt's Creek Minnow. Been working really, really well for us here with the steelhead on the Erie tribs. And great little fly. All in all, it was a fabulous trip, due in no small part to Kurt's Creek Minnow. I can't wait until the final program airs on the new Fly Fishers YouTube channel. I'm also looking forward to getting back out to the area and hosting my own trips there with Captain Kurt Charters.